It's great to be joined by this man. Tanner Kern does terrific work over at DraftKings. And we took a look at the MLB card in the last segment. Let's turn it forward to football now. And I like this feature that you've got. It's USC to be able to make the college football playoff. Right now, we're finding the yes at a plus 260. So a nice, juicy number there. I think that with USC, they are the class of the Pac-12. A Pac-12 that looked a little bit better towards the back half of last year as well, because the Pac-12, they've been left out of the college football playoff quite a bit. I feel like a lot of these teams are rising up, but just take me through just the logic on this one, because I like to make the playoff bet much more than the win the national championship future, just because I do feel like there's a real big two in college football right now, and then there's pretty much everyone else.
Yeah, Georgia's probably going to win the national championship again this year, in my opinion. So I would stay away from any national title bet with USC. I would just take them to make the college football playoff. I think Georgia will be in. Ohio State will get in. Alabama will not miss the playoff once again, especially combined with the fact that they don't play Georgia this year. And we're not going to see the committee put a TCU in. We're not going to see that debacle again, because Georgia would have beaten Alabama in the college football playoff, but Alabama would have put up a much better fight than TCU did, in my opinion. USC missed the college football playoff last year. They lost to Tulane 46-45 in the Cotton Bowl. That was a painful game for me as a USC bettor, because it was just the defense giving up points and scores that they didn't need to. USC has the Heisman Trophy winner, the first overall pick in next year's draft if he stays healthy, in Caleb Williams. Williams threw 42 touchdowns and only 5 picks in 2022. He was sensational. The offense is stacked. Lincoln Riley's a great offensive mind. The defense was very good with the turnover margin last year, but they weren't good overall. They were a bend but not break kind of unit, and they still gave up a ton of points. And they probably will this year. I just don't think it matters that much when the offense is that good in the Pac-12, where there's not a lot of defense played. They got 4 really tough games on their schedule: Notre Dame, Washington, and Oregon. All those games are on the road. And then they're going to be home against Utah, who beat them twice last season. I think that's a benefit for them, the fact that they can get some revenge on their home turf. I see them losing one of those games. If they can go 3-1 there, I do think they get in, just because they win the Pac-12 title. The committee's going to look at them, and Caleb Williams is going to be the first pick in the draft if he stays healthy, as I said, and that doesn't hurt their cause either. People are going to want to see Caleb Williams in the college football playoff, and that's why I like USC to get in.
And you mentioned a little bit before, you do expect Georgia to be that top title contender, and hard to disagree there. They've won each out of the last 2 seasons, but if you take a look at their season win totals, it can't be any higher. It's at 11.5. How do you view this team? Because in order for Georgia to be able to catch this season win total for you, and on the over, you are getting plus 120, you need them to go undefeated. Do you think they're going undefeated, or do you think that there's going to be a loss in a relatively tough SEC?
Yeah, I love this play. It's a tough SEC, but their schedule is an absolute joke. They don't have to play Alabama. Let's take a look at it here. Out of conference schedule: UT Martin, Ball State, UAB, and Georgia Tech. There is absolutely no challenge there whatsoever. They have one of the best offensive lines in the country. They have a great tight end in Brock Bowers. They're elite on the defensive side of the ball. Kirby Smart's fantastic as a head coach. And in the SEC, they will be a double-digit favorite in every game. Their 2 toughest contests in the SEC, get ready for this: Florida at a neutral site in Jacksonville. The Gators were 6-6 last year. They lost their quarterback in Anthony Richardson. Then they're going to play Tennessee, which is going to be a tough environment on the road there, but I don't see the Volunteers being much better than 8-4 or 9-3 at best. So nobody in the conference is really in the same ballpark, at least on their schedule. I think Alabama can play with Georgia, but we're not going to see that matchup in the regular season. So the combination of Georgia just continuing to reload in their talent right now and their easy schedule, for plus money, I really do like the over 11.5 wins. They've gone undefeated the past 2 seasons. Let's make it 3.
It is going to be a fun college football season, and it's hard to see Georgia losing a game until we see them face off against Alabama. So I'm in agreement with you there. As joining me on the show, we do have Tanner Kern. He does great work over at DraftKings, and you mentioned that they are going to be playing a game in Jacksonville. How about if we go from college to the pro and take a look at the city that is going to be hosting it? Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know that you're taking a look at their win total. It is at 9.5, shaded up to the over. And if you have a little bit of a juice tolerance with regards to these season win totals, I know that DraftKings may let you adjust it a little bit. You're able to take a look at things like ranges. You're able to shade it down to like 7.5 up to 11.5, things like this. So there's ways to manipulate the juice, because right now that season win total at 9.5 is a minus 150 on the over. But take me through what you're taking a look at with the Jaguars, because with the Jaguars, I do feel like they're maybe getting a little bit too much love for like Super Bowl hype and what have you. But this division is just absolutely terrible, and there should be plenty of wins when they go up against the AFC South.
Yeah, so the total set 9.5. I would adjust this up till you get it plus money, 11 plus, 11.5. I think the Jaguars are going to do a lot of damage this season, and a big reason for that is the AFC South. When you look at this division, it's defined by rookie quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson will probably be the day one starter for the Colts. C.J. Stroud will definitely be the day one starter for the Texans, and then Will Levis, kind of that wild card. There's talks that he will be the day one starter. There's talks that he might take over for Tannehill or just sit behind him all season and then start next year. But I see him getting in at some point, especially if the Titans start to slide downhill. When you look at the Jaguars, they are by far the best team in this division just because of how they're positioned at the quarterback position. When you look at Trevor Lawrence, he was fantastic last season. He keeps getting better and better. And he's arguably one of the greatest quarterback prospects of this generation, but it took him time to develop. So just don't see a lot of challenge from the rest of this division. On offense, they have a lot of great receivers in Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley's returning, and they have Evan Ingram. The defense was really good last season down the stretch. They were a bend but not break unit. They were fantastic in the red zone. And the combination of all these things combined with just the division that they play in makes me think they're going to clean up those games. And then out of conference, they're still a really good football team. They got a great head coach in Doug Peterson. So look for the Jaguars to make noise, adjust that win total up a little bit, and grab some plus money.
And then you're taking a look at a few player props as well. How about if we take a look at a man in Cleveland, which I do think that Cleveland is going to be one of the biggest roll of the dice teams in the NFL, but I do think that they're going to be playing quite a few close games. And typically when you're in close games, you run the ball quite a bit. And I know that a man that you're taking a look at to be able to lead the league in rushing is Nick Chubb. Right now he's a short shot, but that still pays 7-1. Take me through just how you are evaluating this Cleveland Browns team and Mr. Chubb to lead the league in rushing.
So Chubb's biggest competition, at least in the odds market right now, is Jonathan Taylor to lead the league in rushing. But he's coming off a really bad season with the Colts, and I'll take Chubb all day because he stays healthy. The durability is just fantastic with him. He can take a beating, and Taylor already didn't participate in offseason workouts with an ankle injury. He's expected to be ready for training camp, but that's a bad sign, in my opinion, if you're looking to bet on Jonathan Taylor to lead the NFL in rushing. Chubb was third in the league in rushing yards last season. He's played in 75 games over 5 seasons. Health's a critical stat. We know he's going to be on the field. If you can't stay healthy, you can't win this award. So I do like Chubb for that reason. And also when you look at his offensive line with Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, those two guys, the guard position, they get after it. They're great in power. They're great in trap schemes. And that is a big help for Chubb because that's the style of running that he wants to play. Also, when you look at the quarterback position, Deshaun Watson should be a lot better this year. That's going to make defenses respect the pass as well, which they didn't have to do much when he returned. So should open the box up a little bit more for Chubb to rip off some big games. And I absolutely love him to lead the league in rushing for all these reasons.
And how about if we go from the guys out there on the field to the guys coaching? You're taking a look in terms of the Coach of the Year market, and you've taken a little bit of a shot on Sean Payton. I actually do like this look, by the way. Take me through what you're looking at with the Broncos, because I think that's very clear. The upgrade is about as big as it gets at the coaching position, going from Nathaniel Hackett over to Sean Payton.
Yeah, Sean Payton right now, you can get him at 12-1, depending on the book you're using. You might find 13-1 in some places. His biggest competitions, Dan Campbell and Matt Eberflus. I don't see Eberflus doing much. The Bears are going to be better, but they're not going to get over the hump yet. If any team's going to get over the hump, it's going to be the Detroit Lions. That would be his biggest competition. But when you look at this market, if you're betting on Sean Payton to win Coach of the Year, you're betting on a Russell Wilson bounce back. And I think if any coach can do it, it is Sean Payton. Before we talk about him, let's break down the defense a little bit. They signed Zach Allen. They got Frank Clark in the offseason. These are two guys that can rush the passer. They can play really well in the run game. They can do it all. And they have a fantastic secondary. They were dominant on defense last season. We know if they just would have scored a couple touchdowns a game, they would have been a pretty good football team. Now, I think they can do that this year because they have weapons on offense. And Russell Wilson, it showed that he's not a guy that can survive without coaching. He needs great coaching to be good, but he has been good in the past as a former Super Bowl winner. And Sean Payton has won with the 5'11 quarterback. So right there, if he can get Russell Wilson to give his number to his teammates, we might be doing something here. They have talent on offense, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, guys that can make plays for Russell Wilson. They have a really athletic offensive line. They signed Mike McGlinchey to a massive contract in the offseason. He's going to anchor that unit. And I think the pieces are there for Wilson to be good. Now, he needs to change the attitude. I think we're going to be just fine there, and he's going to win Coach of the Year.
And a man that is more than just fine, is absolutely excellent, is Tanner Kern of DraftKings. Always good to be able to get him aboard. And we close up shop next by taking a look at my deep dive pick for this MLB Friday on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.